Well, what a way to end the year as a Liverpool Football Club fan. Yeah, 5-0 win over West Ham. We got the clean sheet, maybe one little injury concern, but five different goal scorers as well, and probably one of the most dominant performances we've seen in a good while. Restricting West Ham to 0 shots on target, at least in open play and legitimate play, pre very badly blown whistles, offsides, etc. From very patchy refereeing performance today. That probably the only dampener on the entire thing. But I'm joined by Brian. Brian, what a great game to watch after what we talked about in the pre-match.
Oh, fantastic! Fantastic! It lived up to it surpassed my expectations right there. The clean sheet was like the cherry on top of the cake.
I said in the Discord channel that, and it wasn't a slam on Brendan Rodgers, but that was the football Brendan Rodgers was trying to get Liverpool to play, but never could because he never paid enough attention to the defensive side of things. Slot, by all accounts, does. And that's what you get. Just complete dominance and control a la Rafa Benitez. And then absolutely smashingly dangerous attack every time we got the ball, a la Brendan Rodgers in 2013-14. Just unpredictable, skillful, mobile, quick. And then when it didn't work, holding onto the ball with purpose. We couldn't have landed a better manager to take over from Klopp, could we?
Oh no! I mean, it's like I think we were waiting for this tweak right there, And again, sometimes you get managers that drop in and just do just like a little tiny bit of a change right there of tactics and stuff like that. And I think this side was ready for that. I mean, I think that Mo Salah is a different player than Mo Salah was last season. And I think it all goes back down to like onto slot. I mean, you have to go out there and just go and say slot move progress us past the actual impact that Pep and Klopp had. Not to knock what Pep and Klopp had right there, but I think they needed to slow down the pace right there. I think that we were going too fast right there for what these players are at their progress in their careers.
The comparisons have been made between the handover from Shanks to Paisley, to maybe a lesser extent, the handover from Houllier to Rafa Benitez in terms of, an all-out high-energy system to a more considerate, thoughtful one. But that's what we're getting here. We relied on emotion, we relied on intensity and pressure and directness under Klopp, and it worked so very, very well. But this new almost cerebral side to the Liverpool, pretty much the same Liverpool team that Klopp left at the end of last season, it shows, number one, that Klopp did what you would want any departing manager to do, and that is leave great foundations for the next manager. Unlike certain clubs not very far from Liverpool in the last 11 years trying to figure out why their greatest manager left them in the crap from day one. But not the case here. And he's made the tweaks that we all talked about for a long while, hasn't he? Just as you say, don't go hell for leather in every single moment. And then sometimes you have to let the other team have the ball and let them hurt themselves with the gaps they leave. Trust is a huge thing for managers and fans and supporters. And that trust, that bond of trust, it's being built up pretty rapidly, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, and Dutch football is just a good thing to watch as a football supporter right there, because it's control. And we basically, prime example, this whole match, we controlled this match. We give them a little bit of their time, but ultimately we were like a boa constrictor on this whole thing. We came there and gave them just a little bit of space, and then we just clamped back down on it. I mean, you can see by the second goal right there, how the clamp down that we had on this side. West Ham wasn't going to come there and throw us anything at this match right there. There was it was impossible for them to threaten us.
In terms of the personnel, obviously Gomez going out with an injury was not what we wanted on the scorecard. But Kwanzaa came in and contributed as much as anybody to that clean sheet. Maybe one or two little moments where you see his inexperience. But from back to front, and I'm not even going to say from back to front, from the back four forward, it was just as perfect as you could go. We can't say much about Alisson because he didn't have a whole lot to do, did he?
No, I mean he just came there and had like one or two catches and stuff like that. I mean Kudus came there and came close like twice on in there. I mean I can say that he had good shots. I mean again Kudus, what a player. I mean that kid is. I mean so I mean but ultimately I mean no shots on target. I mean so I mean yeah I mean Kudus hit the bar twice, but it was a pretty relatively peaceful day for Ali.
It was one of those ones where you almost wish the rules didn't demand you had to have a goalkeeper in goal because we had an extra. But even with that, it could have been 10, couldn't it?
Oh, easily. I mean, Mo came there and had. I mean, Areola had a couple really good saves out of that match right there. I mean, he fluffed up a couple times there, but for the most part, I mean, it was it was bombardment on Areola the whole time. I mean, he did what he probably possibly could do the best. I mean, with what he had to work with. I mean, the Trent goal right there was unstoppable for the most part. Mo's goal was almost pretty much the same thing. I mean, so it's like it was a good game. It was a good game to laugh at.
We talked before the game about the midfield balance and how Curtis Jones, Gravenberg, and McAllister gave us probably the best balance in terms of rotation in the roles, and that's what we saw. We didn't. There was no special magic knowledge beforehand or anything like that. We just talked about how balanced that midfield looked, and at times the number 6 was Gravenberg, and at times it was Curtis Jones, and at times it was McAllister. Salah is going to get all the plaudits rightfully, but McAllister especially was a huge driving force in that game. But that midfield, I mean, games are won and lost in midfield. There's a really big reason why we are where we are right now, and it is the players that we're able to put in there, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and it goes back to a case of what could have been right there. I mean, if we would have came there, went in and got the holding midfield that we were asking about without Zubimendi, I mean, would we still have Gravenberch in the same spot? I mean, right there. So I mean, it's a case of like this is probably the best thing that happened to us right there was not spending that money or him actually coming across. But yeah, I mean, McAllister right there, some of the tackles that he threw in, I mean, basically he's what Bowen came there went out on because I mean that 50-50 challenge basically that he had on him, which I don't know why they called that a foul because that was all ball on that part. Yeah, you guys angled through the end of it right there, but to me it wasn't a foul. But I mean, McAllister's just this is a good, enjoyable side to watch at the moment, and it's I don't see any downfalls at the moment right there. I mean, you never know what happens in football, but right now the way we're playing is this on another plane at the moment.
I mean, you could look at the goal scorers, like four strikers and a fullback on the score sheet, and one of them being a sub. I always think, and I've always thought, even when I was a young player playing at crappy level divisions, and then like one club that was a good club, but if you are dangerous from the other team's corner, you always have a chance. And that's us. When we put out a front three that isn't containing, pardon the slam on a day like today, but that isn't containing Darwin Núñez. Anytime Liverpool breaks is a threatening and bad time for the opposition. And we saw that today, didn't we? There was a lot of persistence in the first 2 goals. There was a lot of determination from Jota when he came on. And Salah. He was just a magnet for getting players to come towards him and open space for others. But that's where we really need to make sure we have everything right. That's where we need to make sure Salah is signed up. That's where we need to make sure Diaz is happy. That's where we need to make sure, to be fair, if Núñez can't do the job, we replace him with somebody who can, because that interchange of, one player comes out, another goes in, and oh, look, he scores. That's so important to winning trophies, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and if you even look right there between Gapco and Diaz, there was a lot of rotation between the two about where their positions were. I mean, Mo pretty much stayed right there on the right hand side for the most part, but I watched Diaz came there and go back to the left side with touch line, going back toward midfield. Gapco go there going drifting to the midfield and toward the mid, and then toward the center of the pitch right there. And I think that the interchangeability of those two right there is going to be is so incredible to watch. But yeah, I mean, I think that even Nunez does his job, I guess. I mean, right there, I mean, he's a nine that doesn't really contribute as much goal wise, but his movement right there does. So in the big picture right there, I think that Nunez does go there and do things for our side right there that we don't, that Jota doesn't do, and also that we don't have another nine after that, because I mean I can't quite put Dan's in the picture, even though I like Dan's, but he's a kid, and you can't go there and put that expectation on him. But I think that, I mean, no matter what, Nunez is going to be here for the rest of the season. I mean, much of those little rumors that go about in January, Nunez isn't going anywhere, because I do think that Mo likes him. Mo plays off him well. I mean, and so I think that we're going to keep that. And we're going to need all these forwards that we have out here to get to cross the line. I mean, through the end of the season.
Talking about Salah, the fact that Richard Hughes was there watching the game and seeing the impact that Salah has, surely he should be going back to Liverpool and go back to FSG and saying, look, we can have all the spreadsheets and data and statistics we want. We can try and be as clever as we want. But the fact is, we have a guy here who is top of the range. There's maybe two players on the entire planet who can compete with him for goal scoring prowess. And if we let him go and we don't have a good plan that's going to surprise everybody because we're the smartest guys in the room, we're going to be in a huge amount of trouble, and the fans will turn on us like that. It should be obvious, shouldn't it? I mean, it really should be obvious. So what is the delay?
I don't know. There's only one Mo Salah. That's all I can say. There's only one Mo Salah. There is not a player that we can actually physically get at this point right there with on the money that would be required to go there to replace Mo Salah. It's not going to happen. Sign him up for I mean, I've been saying right there, 2+1. Give him 2 years right there and a 1 year option through there. That way we, decide what he wants to do. But I mean, this is a 32-year-old guy right there who's probably right now the best forward in the world. I mean, easily the best winger in the world at the moment. I mean, and you can always say probably the best overall front three. Give him his money. I mean, I don't care what it costs at the moment right there. I mean, it can't be so unrealistic right there that for the amount of money that FSG and / Liverpool are bringing in for as far as prize money and as far as television rights. I mean, throughout the world, it means a lot. I mean, and Mo Salah right there is the amount of attention he draws in from the Middle East, from Asian market, from also now, through the European market. They're making their money back from him. I mean, he's priority number one, and Verge is priority number two. Trent is number three. It's the way it is in my eyes.
Hey, that man, he's me. Now, speaking of Trent, he had a great game today. Involved, and we had some fantastic and very, very Dutch coaching inspired passing moves, and he was at the center of a lot of them. Now that's a different situation to Mohamed Salah, because he is heading into the peak of his career, and a chance to go to Real Madrid doesn't come along that often. But at the same time, if he goes for free, that's a hugely backward, regressive step, isn't it? To let a player of that quality go for nothing, when we could sign them up and then say, look, in a year's time, if you're not happy, we'll take an offer. But it has to be worth what you are worth. Because when he's on form, he is almost the linchpin of our attacks from the back, isn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but this is a issue that should have been resolved 2 seasons ago. I mean, I think all this whole little bit of drama that we're having as far as the players go, I mean, are things that should have been resolved a couple of seasons ago, right? Should just open up and at least go there and have these guys put pen to paper on a revised deals ahead of this. But as far as Trent goes, I mean, the celebration, I mean, it kind of just says right there, hey, you know what? Don't listen to whatever's being talked about, and let him come out there and do his time. I mean, ultimately, I don't think that Trent's going to. I think that Trent is going to have to listen to a lot of people around him surrounding what Real Madrid really is. They talk a lot. They talk an awful lot, but right there, but ultimately, they crush careers. I mean, and especially careers that come from this side of the island. I mean, you can go down the list right there. Michael Owen right there. His career got crushed. Steve McManaman came there and pretty much got crushed. Gareth Bale had a great career, but guess what happened to him? I mean, he got talked about. I mean, yeah, Steve McManaman won the European Cup with them right there. I mean, he was a younger age and a different type of player through there. But ultimately right there, he came out of it not the same player. I mean, so it's – I don't know. I just don't think that Real Madrid is a great option for Trent. I mean, maybe his brothers think it is in there, but ultimately, right there, as he can go down in this club as a complete legend.
Do you think? Because I always forget that his brothers are essentially his representatives. There was and still is occasionally from fans who can't let it go, but the idea that Gerard Houllier messed up by not signing Nicolas Anelka, but the problem, as Gerard Houllier said later, wasn't Nicolas Anelka, but Nicolas Anelka's brother, who you know, on the coattails of his brother's talent, trying to make as much for himself as possible, as much as he was for his brother. Do you think that might be an issue for Trent? Is that, you know, a professional agent who is not emotionally or genetically tied to his client, or her client, will look at the situation and see what is best for everybody. And I've got 5 other players on my books, and they're all top-notch stars, so I make money one way or the other every single year. Whereas somebody whose relative is the representative and who they don't have clearly the same talent as, may be more swayed by what their ego can be fed by these moves. You know, I got my brother removed to Real Madrid. Didn't work out, but that's Real Madrid's fault now. You know, I'm the big cheese here. As much as, do you think that might factor into this whole situation for Trent, and that if he had a more independent and professional related agent, this would have been wrapped up a long time ago in Liverpool's favour?
I mean, it could go either way right there. I mean, I'll give a prime example with Rybal. His mom as his agent, same thing. She's basically came through and got him out of decent moves right there because of her demands for him. I mean, and I think that, you know, I think that Trent being from Liverpool right there means something on there, but I also think that Trent's actually looking at stats at the same time right there. And sometimes that's a little bit of a hard thing for a player to think that they can achieve more and more. And I mean, again, he wants to win trophies. Great. We all want to win trophies. That's part of being in a club, is you want to win. I mean, and I think that he can get those ambitions here. I just don't think that, I don't know. It's with his brothers. I haven't really heard much out of that area, because most of the time you hear Marca, and Marca's full of shit anyway. I mean, for the most part. I mean, and so you haven't really heard anything from Trent until I actually go out there and hear something directly from Trent. I'm not going to believe anything that goes through there. I mean, yeah, he has a good relationship with Jude Bellingham, but, you know, Bellingham's not having the best time right there at Madrid at the moment either. I mean, so, you know, it's a 50-50 shot right there. What's going to happen? I mean, I'm like kind of like what Tamuchin has said right there earlier, like in a couple of weeks ago. I'm not going to go over the odds right there to pay a fullback either. I mean, you know, so it goes back to what the wage demands are. I mean, with it. But again, if Trent's going to go there and want to make wages right there that he's expecting, I mean, in the category of 400 or some odd number like that, you're going to almost make 900,000 a year in Spain because of tax bracket. So I mean, so it all goes out in the ways. So it's going to decide what Trent ultimately wants to do, and I hope that this is what his decision is.
But on the other hand, though, Trent is not just a fullback, though, is he? He's not just doing fullback things. He's an assist machine. He's a creator, and that's next to goal scorers. That's the next most expensive player to buy is the players that create, and he does that. Who replaces Alexander-Arnold at Liverpool in the creation stakes, and Mo Salah in the goal scoring stakes? If we don't sign those two up, we're
the
then, aren't we?
the right side's gone. I mean, you might as well say the right side's gone. I mean, and that's why it's most important right there to go and, for Mo first. And then, I think that Mo is the first player you have to actually get pen and paper because, I mean, you can look at the amount of production that he's done this season. It tells you exactly why Mo Salah needs to stay at this club. I mean, and next year, if it goes down to like that Mo wants to go in there and move on, sure. I mean, but at least come there and give him his money right there and his due because he deserves that money from what he's produced on the pitch at the moment.
Let's look at the stats of the game. Just to remind everybody of the sheer dominance, they only had 4 shots in total, and 0 of them were on target. So, we could have put Jaros in goal, to be fair. We could have put that under 18 kid in goal, to be fair, as well. It wouldn't have made any difference. But in terms of the possession, it's one of those games like there was like a stat on one of the FIFA World Cup studies like years ago, which basically said if you have too much possession, sometimes that's very bad for you. And if you have too little possession, a lot of the time that's very bad for you. And around about between 55 and 60% possession of the game is control. So you have to allow for the fact that the other team will have some of the ball. Now, we see that for anybody who pays any attention in Scotland when Celtic frequently win games. But a lot of the time, if they have like 70% of possession in the game, they're going into the last minute still at 0-0 or maybe even at 1-0 down. Because the either the other team's tactic is really good at shutting them out or they're not solving that particular problem well. But we solved every problem that was thrown at us today, didn't we? There was nothing, I mean, we started as we meant to go on. It was from minute 1, we were at it. And at 94, was it 94 minutes we got in the end?
Mm-hmm.
94th minute, we were still trying to score.
94. Yeah.
If you're Arsenal or Chelsea or City, and let's just say, I'm sure Forest aren't stupid enough to think they are genuine league contenders and they're just enjoying the ride for what it is right now. But you're looking at that, surely, and you're going, right, this is the real deal. We're going to have to either switch on or be on our best game every single minute because if this team, if that was their blip, as we said pre-match, then we're all in trouble because they can only get better. Because correct me if I'm wrong, we're still not at the best we've seen Liverpool yet this season, are we?
Oh, I think there's still a lot more to go. I mean, I think that, we still have fitness with Kanate out. I mean, we still have Bradley out. So our rotation still isn't back complete. And again, right there, they haven't fully embraced all of Slot's tactics all the way. I mean, you can see some moments that they do stray off and then go into like a Klopp type of mentality right there. But I think it's a more controlled now because I think Slot goes back and says, hey, okay, stop this. and it ends right there, and then they go back and switch tactics. But yeah, I mean, and I think that I think even with adding 1 or 2 little pieces right there in January, which I hope we do, add just some a squad player somewhere and mix into there, just to kind of help us push us across the line. I mean, this side can get better. It can get so much better. I mean, in the long run.
Let's talk about the refereeing because it wasn't great. Anthony Taylor missed 2 corners, both on Joe Gomez, and 1 attacking and 1 defensive. He let some fouls go and then called the exact same fouls against later. No, we've had that whole thing with, what was his name, David Coote there with the bias comments, at least, against Liverpool early in the season. And us being a paranoid lot, as all supporters are, would be inclined to think that there is some sort of bias against Liverpool Football Club. But what I wanted to talk about was, in the Klopp era, Klopp would have been going insane at the 4th official the entire game and probably pushed that bias even more against us. Whereas every time he looked at Slot, he was laughing and joking, almost like he's accepting that the decision was made and maybe he's trying to make a gentle point that, that wasn't quite right. But I'm not going to harangue you about it because, the next decision might need to go in my favor. Do you think Slot's approach to referees is going to help us more? Whereas Klopp may have made a few enemies by how he essentially roared their heads off at times.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, but again, it goes back to the whole thing with this is the best league in the world with some of the worst officiating. I mean, we saw that in the Leicester City match right there when we had Paul Weller in the middle of the pitch right there, basically, in the middle of the Wildwood. I mean, at the same time right there, and not making some of those questionable calls. But I mean, it's just the anti-Taylor stuff. I mean, that you're seeing right there. It's so old now that I don't even expect good calls anymore. I mean, it's a sad right there. I mean, this the PGML OL right there needs to actually just probably go back and get absorbed back into the league right there instead of what they had, instead of the separation that happened. Because I think that once we go there and had a group of people that run the Premier League and see how poor the officiating has been across the board. I mean, this isn't just to us. I mean, I can go down so many questionable calls that we've seen in there that we just need to go out there and get this resolved. But I do think that Klopp right there definitely yelling and screaming and the over emotion right there that happens, with it does go there and it does take a toll on the officials. So like, oh my God, this guy again. You know what? Why am I going to go out there and give this guy a free will? Why am I going to give this team any justice out of it? I mean, yeah, it should be neutral, but you can't control human emotions. If I have somebody yelling at me right there, you know what I'm going to say? Yeah, fuck you. I don't care about you. I mean, it's what happens.
In terms of the control of the game, what I noticed on top of that, and we'll end on that particular topic with this, is that the players weren't reacting as much. And it was almost like the culture now is try to get the referee on our side. And you can't do that if you're all screaming in his face all the time. It worked during Ferguson's years, but that's because they were all Freemasons and he was the head Freemason or something like that. So I read something somewhere. But do you think that almost like a PR charm offensive may help us going into the end of the season as referees realise that they're not going to get their ear chewed off them, and maybe this guy has a point. Maybe I did make that mistake, so I'm not going to make that mistake again.
Well, I mean, so you can look at Bruno Fernandez. I mean, right there, what happened with him. I mean, that with his with the calls that went against him in there, and I mean, he wasn't getting any justice because every time you turn around, he's in the official's face every single call right there. Eventually, right there, they get tired of it. I mean, so guess what? What good does it do for you to get into his face and yell at him right there? You're just going to create more conflict, and you're not going to get any justice out of it. So yeah, hey, just go about your business right there. You're going to have questionable calls. You're going to have good calls. You're going to have bad calls right there. But you know what? In the long run, yelling about it's not going to change the call.
Let's look at the league table. Just because it's fun. We've got, what is that? 8 points on Forest with a game in hand. 9 points on Arsenal with a game not in hand, but we will after tomorrow, I think. And same with Chelsea, but 10 points. We're in great shape and 14 points ahead of C. Now, my contention is this. We have our next 5 league games outside of the Everton game. I don't know when that's been rescheduled to yet. I may have seen it, or if it has been done. But United at home, Forest away, Brentford away, Ipswich at home, and Bournemouth away. My contention is if we win those 5 games in a row, league games, regardless of what happens in the FA Cup or the Champions League, if we win those 5, we're going to be champions. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think if we can get those, if that's 15 straight points, I mean, if those points come through right there, then I can't see how we can't. I mean, it'd be the most epic collapse that you probably see right there on C. But I mean, out of those matches right there, the only one I'm worried about is with how Chris Wood's been playing with Forest. I mean, that's all the other matches are very winnable, winnable matches. I can't say they're easy because no match is easy right there. I mean, I'd say
except for Man United.
Except for, yeah, exactly. I think that Brentford's not very easy going to Brentford right there. I mean, just because it's another London trip. But I mean, so far we're doing okay in London. So I mean, again, just go match to match. Go there and win your matches and just do it one at a time. I mean, the one good thing about it is that we have breaks and gaps in between there that would help us out with fitness.
Now, if we win the next 6, so we add Wolves onto that. No, the players want to take, and the manager need to take every game one at a time. But we're fans; we don't have that discipline or need for it. But just look at there. If we win, if we beat United, Forest, Brentford, Ipswich, Bournemouth, and then Wolves, we'll go into the City game at the Etihad, at the Etihad. We will go into that probably not needing to do anything other than show up, which would be one of the best feelings to have going into a City game after Christmas in a long, long time. That'd be like going back to when they weren't winning anything. It would be a nice feeling, wouldn't it, to go into that game and have zero pressure on it whatsoever, other than we're winning for pride here. We're adding to the humiliation. I think the team is capable of doing that. I think you've been saying, and Cozzy's been saying, I think it's been you've been saying that Slot's got to go into that Forest game like it's the most important game he's ever played in his entire life after what happened. So in that run, I think Brentford might be the toughest game.
Brentford at home is tough.
Yeah. So we could be going into that City game where we could literally play the kids and use that as a rest. What kind of a slap in the face would that be for Pep Guardiola if we use the game against City as a chance to rest players?
I don't think Slot will ever do that right there, just because of his respect for City. But I do say right there that that you do have to look at over there. You have Accrington Stanley right there, where your kids are going to get minutes. If we need one more point out of the Champions League right there, so that's going to be basically a mixed side. And then the last match of the champion in there, I mean, in the Champions League, it's going to be we basically run out kids and run out the everybody else, the fringe players. So again, that's what I was saying right there. The gaps that we have coming through this are going to be very helpful for us come March and April, which is that's when the fixtures are going to come full swing, because you're going to have FA Cup matches if we're still in there, and you're still going to have the knockout stages of the Champions League at the same time.
Just looking at that table one more time before we start wrapping things up. 1 loss, 3 draws, 45 goals scored, and just 1 game shy of the halfway point, and only 17 conceded. I don't know whether we've had a better balanced goals for and goals against at this point of the season in a long, long time. Maybe 1 year out of the last 15, perhaps 10.
2008, 2009.
Yeah, maybe that. It's such a balanced team, isn't it? It's not what we expected. Let's be honest. We weren't expecting that kind of balance, but I'm all for it.
I mean, and you think about that, even the back four right there, we've had rotation through the back four. We've had Robertson's been hurt, Trent's been hurt. You've had Konate and Konate, Gomez, and Kwanzaa mixed in on one side. I mean, really the only standstill person out of that back four has been Verge. I mean, so you've had all this rotation, and your goals against is still that low. I mean, that plus 28 goal difference means a lot. I mean, it really does. I mean, because if you go down so long, that's 2 points. That's basically 2 points right there in the big picture.
I think the biggest thing about that is with that rotation, it really shows that it's down to coaching. It's literally down to the coach and the organization, and that's all on Slot. So we really have looked out with that guy. We as much as we complain about FSG, about the players' contracts and some of the scouting they've done, they really got the job done here with Slot, didn't they?
I'm going to say Slot, but I'm also going to go with another person right there, Heisinger. I think that, from an Evertonian right there that's came in, and right there it has actually came there and helped us considerably with this organization. And just from hearing from all the people with in the Dutch leagues and stuff that are talking about the potential of Heisinger at the same time right there. I mean, you've got 2 really good, solid-headed coaches right there, the coaching staff in here that are bringing us, that are helping us immensely. I mean, it's a change. It's a complete change right there, going from Pep, Linders, and Klopp. And I think that this tells you right there how masterful it is right there for a manager to come off of that and flip and change and tweak right there, and then come up with a run like this. 1 loss in a half a season. I mean, come on. I mean, you can't. What do you can't go better with that? I mean, of course, you can probably go with the Invincibles from Arsenal, but you look at the amount of draws that they had at the same time. It's not even in comparison right there. 3 draws, and and it's like, we talked about a couple weeks ago, Kazi and all of us right there. Draws lose championships. I mean, really, they honestly do right there, because those you didn't win, but those are like actual 2 points that you're dropping each time you turn around. So, I mean, it's what we're doing right now is immaculate.
And then Spencer Stewart says Saka's out till March. Yep. That's huge for Arsenal. So
I don't count Arsenal.
It's all in our hands, really, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I don't count Arsenal. I think that Arsenal are. I think that's a done deal. I mean, for them, honestly, I think that they don't have anybody that can replace Saka in that side at the moment. My worry still is a little bit of Chelsea, but I think that what I saw with Chelsea in the last match against Fulham right there shows that they're a very young, naive side, and I think that their reliance on Cole Palmer is so immense. If something happened to them, they would basically be a mid-table side.
Here's my prediction for the end of the season. Slot's going to win the Champions League. He's going to win the league. He's going to win the League Cup, but maybe not the FA Cup. And Nuno Espirito Santo will get Manager of the Year, because that's just the way it goes when you're Liverpool.
So he's basically pulling Bob Paisley right there on the
he's going to pull a Gerard Houllier when Gerard Houllier won 5 trophies in one season, and George Borley got Manager of the Year that year. So just to add on to that, Spencer says you can only eke out 1-0 stinkers for so long, and that's perfectly true in Arsenal's case. Yep. But as the old saying goes, 1-0 to the Arsenal. At some point, it's going to bite them in the backside. So just to say thank you, Brian, for spending the Sunday with us. For everybody else, there will be the coffee morning tomorrow. I'm assuming morning coffee or tea. And then keep an eye out for what's going on over the New Year's games in terms of pre-matches and post-matches, etc. Some of us have to work, though. And a great day. So we all get to put our feet up and enjoy this Sunday, except for Maka, who has to go into work. But but you go in with a smile on your face, because the tricky Reds have done the job. So I think we can all say in unison, number 1, have a happy New Year. And number 2, pay that man his money. He's the best we're going to get for a long, long time. Okay, so make sure you're liking and subscribing. Tap or smash that like button, depending on the quality of your keyboard. Follow us on the Instagram, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, and also the YouTube. And make sure you're making your comments there. And join us on the Discord channel and the Patreon for extra added stuff. But for me and Brian, it's Cadbury's chocolate time, at least for me, and then off to work for a little bit. But we will see everybody again. Have a good one. Peace out. 5-0 to the
Happy New Year. Up the Reds.
We're winning the league. Here we go.